Just a quick reminder before anything else, the 2022 NBA Most Valuable Player Award isn't for the player who's playing the best in this year's playoffs or the guy who potentially deserves it because he hasn't won an MVP award yet. Basically, the award should go to the guy who showed the most value to his team during the duration of the regular season. Well, at this point, we've already seen how both the advanced metrics and even the eye test supports the MVP case for each of the three finalists. And with that said, I personally just can't find any reason to avoid giving a second straight MVP award to Nikola Jokic. For sure, this season, Jokic posted eye-popping averages of 27 points, almost 14 rebounds, and almost 8 assists, while shooting 58.3% from the field, which numbers are even better than his MVP stats last season. We've also seen the Joker become the first player in NBA history to put up at least 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in a single season. But consider this, Jokic is the entire focal point of his team's offense. He's running it from the center position on a team with no real knockdown shooters in its core rotation, and despite that, the Nuggets managed to have the 6th best offense in the entire NBA. Well, as a passer, the question isn't about where Jokic ranks among the best playmaking big men in the NBA anymore, but where he actually ranks among the best playmakers of all time. But more than that, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that his shooting efficiency has been crazy good as well if you look into his true shooting percentage, which stat measures a player's efficiency taking into account both his field goal and his free throw shooting. This season, Jokic has put up an incredibly high 66.1 true shooting mark. Again, it's not just that it leads all high usage players, but it's also that nobody's even close. Out of all the league's top 75 players in terms of usage rate, only Karl Anthony Towns' 64.2 true shooting mark ranks within 20 percentage points of Jokic. Again, the Joker has done this while also recording the highest single season PER in NBA history, while playing on a team where every opponent's entire game plan is basically focused on disrupting his every move. But what's even more mind-blowing is that Jokic also leads the entire NBA in defensive box plus-minus rating, which proves that he isn't a slow guy who's getting cooked in the pick and roll anymore. In fact, he's tied with Bam Adebayo with the highest steal rate among all centers this season. Well, these are the advanced numbers, but there's definitely more to look at, so for the rest of this video, I'll talk about why I think Nikola Jokic deserves to win back-to-back MVP awards based on his player value, his team's winning record, and even his defensive impact. But before we continue, if you guys happen to enjoy the video, you can support the channel by hitting that like button. It only takes a second of your time, but it would be much appreciated. So let's get to it. First, let's talk about my argument about the Joker's team value. With 3 incredible individual seasons from Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Nikola Jokic, I think I became more inclined to look at the concept of being valuable to your team. For sure, it's not Giannis' fault that he had a more stable roster compared to his opponents. However, I think you have to give extra weight on the rare level of chaos that both Embiid and Jokic had to navigate for their teams. Embiid's co-star Ben Simmons sat out the entire thing, and James Harden didn't show up until Philadelphia's 59th game of the year. Meanwhile, Jokic had to lead the Nuggets while their 2 other max-level players in Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. were basically out for the entire season. Under those circumstances, Embiid and Jokic led their teams to 51 and 48 wins respectively, which are both impressive. But in terms of straight-up production, I'm just not sure that Embiid faced a deeper support problem than Jokic. Cause I think it's possible that only one other Nugget starter aside from the Joker starts for your typical contending team, and that is Aaron Gordon. However, I think you just can't say the same for Embiid's supporting cast. But despite that, Denver has outscored opponents by a whopping 8.4 points per 100 possessions when Jokic is on the floor. That point differential is the best in the entire NBA and is even 1 point ahead of what the league-leading Phoenix Suns produced. However, when Jokic is on the bench, the Nuggets are outscored by a miserable 7.9 points per 100 possessions, which is the second worst difference in the entire league. While of course, we shouldn't just reward Jokic for having a weaker roster, and we just can't punish Embiid for having better teammates. So to me, the first number is more important because the league-leading 8.4 plus-minus that Jokic produced for Denver shows that he didn't just lift an undermanned roster from being mediocre, but he also made them a really good team. To be fair, the same can also be said for Embiid, but on a slightly lesser scale unfortunately, as Philly was only a plus 7.9 with him on the court and only a minus 3.6 without him. Again, this isn't to undermine Joel Embiid's great season. Embiid was actually phenomenal, averaging more than 30 points and 11 rebounds per game. Aside from becoming the first center to win the scoring title since Shaq, Embiid Embiid also outshot Jokic from deep, shooting 37% as opposed to Jokic's 33.7%. However, the Joker also invented the 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists club while also lapping the field in almost every advanced metric. Jokic also shot 65.2% from 2-point range, which is slightly higher than Giannis' 61.6 mark and is much higher than Embiid's 52.9% 2-point mark. Well, I've seen claims that Embiid's 2-point shooting numbers were deflated because he faced more double and triple teams on the floor. I don't even know how triple teams are measured, but if you actually look at the numbers, according to Second Spectrum's tracking data, Jokic was in fact double teamed on a total of 191 post-up possessions, while Embiid was double teamed at a slightly lower number of 171 post-ups. Plus, even if it appears that Jokic is double teamed less often on a per game basis, I think it's probably because defenses fear his passing just as much as his scoring, and we all know that the Nuggets ecosystem thrives because of the Joker's playmaking. Overall, Jokic finished the season with a 38.8 assist percentage, which not only leads all centers, but is also at least 15 percentage points higher than Joel Embiid's 23.6 assist percentage. But if the quality argument doesn't win you over, let's now move to the quantity argument, cause this season, Nikola Jokic has put up historic stats while also playing more minutes than every other elite star. The 2,476 minutes that Jokic recorded in the regular season is almost 200 minutes more than what Embiid played, and is almost 300 minutes more than what Giannis logged in. If you convert that on a per game basis for Jokic, that's basically equivalent to about a 9-game edge over Embiid and a 7-game advantage over Giannis, which I think is a big deal when looking at an 82-game season, most especially in an MVP race this tight. But then again, I think even using the team record argument basically works well for Jokic too. Philly won 51 games and were number 4 in the East. Denver won 48 games and were number 6 in the West. But with Jokic available, Denver went 46-28, and with Embiid available, the Sixers went 45-23. As you can see, there's almost no difference with the team records when both played, and if any, the numbers show that Philly was still able to win 6 more games even without Embiid, while Denver only won twice without Jokic. So even here, I think it's hard to argue against Jokic's case. Which now leads us to my last argument, which is about the Joker's defense, as one factor which was supposedly going to prevent him from running away with the 2022 MVP award was his long-standing reputation as a defensive liability. Well, sure, there's no doubt that most people would choose Embiid to be their team's defensive anchor in a 7-game series more than Jokic, and I think offensive players choose to attack Jokic more than Embiid basically because of Embiid's glaring ability to shut down players at the rim with his superior length and verticality. But dive a little deeper and you'll see that even the advanced defensive metrics actually favor Jokic, to the point that they even potentially paint him as a qualified DPOY candidate. ESPN's defensive real plus-minus metric ranks Jokic as the 6th best defender in the NBA with a 6.62 rating, while Embiid only ranks 15th with a 5.52 rating. Also, Basketball Reference's defensive box plus-minus rating ranks Jokic number 1 overall this season, while Giannis and Embiid rank behind him at number 2 and number 9 respectively. For sure, all of these metrics have various ways of gathering data, and when talking about defense, it's still better to use the eye test. And when doing that, we should probably pay more attention to the little things when trying to identify what really makes Jokic effective on the defensive end. Just like here, watch Jokic play as the drop big in the pick and roll. He moves his feet while focused on the ball handler who's attacking the paint, but once the ball is dished out to the roll man, Jokic turns his hip and swipes the ball out of the guy's hands. Then here, watch Ja Morant probe the drop coverage. He uses the pick to get away from his man, but watch Jokic use his footwork and wide body to stay with Morant. He doesn't get a block, but he causes the wild miss right below the rim. Well, Jokic has had a good number of game-saving blocks this season, but all in all, I think it's not the flashy rim protection that works for him the most, but it's the more low-key stuff instead. Overall, the Joker finished the regular season leading all centers in deflections per game and steal rate, while he also ranked first in defensive rebounds in the entire league with 11 per game. Again, aggressive scorers might fear Embiid more due to the more obvious ways he shows his defensive talent, but available data suggests that Nikola Jokic is actually a good defender contender, at least in the regular season, contrary to what the narrative about him has been in the past. So I just don't think there's enough reason to tip the MVP race in favor of Joel Embiid even on the defensive side of the floor. While for sure, with their numbers, Giannis or Embiid would have won MVP in any other season. However, to me, Nikola Jokic is the 2022 MVP because of all the things I've mentioned here and all those things I've failed to mention, meaning he has just shut down all potential narratives against him winning the award for the second straight year. So, do you guys think Nikola Jokic is the hands-down winner of the 2022 MVP award? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Real Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.